I recently moved back into Depth 5 to test a theory I had. Well, I say a theory I had. To test something that has been going around in the community, and that is that the Balancers fights are an absolute BS fight, both the base one and the Everdark version. I wanted to know if it is an actual BS fight, or is the community just suffering from something I like to call a skill issue-itis. So, we got back into Depth 5, and of course, the game doesn't want to give you anything easy, it doesn't want to give you like a base Adele. It gives me 2 Everdark Balancers back to back. First one was a loss. Now that is my second ever loss against the Everdark Balancers. And then the second fight was pretty much a routine fight. There was hardly any problems and everyone did an amazing job. Now the reason the first fight went so terribly was because both of my teammates were not running less likely to be targeted. Now in this fight, which is a gank fight, every one of those that are near you are going to target you unless you've got less likely to be targeted on. Think of this fight as the same as ED Libra or, Everdark Gladius. As soon as they're close to you and they're split apart and there's no one else for them to attack, they are going to target you. So what happens when you're targeted by 2 or 3 different Balancers? You die. So the most important tip I can give you is less likely to be targeted. This is how the fight looks if you don't have less likely to be targeted on. Hopefully you catch what I'm trying to say. Basically, if you don't have less likely to be targeted on, you are going to get targeted from every angle, and you will only ever really be targeted by 2 at a time, but if you get in range of some of the others, they will fire the ground beams across the floor, and that's when you start to get into trouble. Now, there's a fairly easy way to counter this, but it's not 100%, it doesn't work all the time. Basically, when you've got 2 that are on you, run away from the rest of the pack, and the 2 will follow you. They'll follow you very slowly, so it'll give you time to do anything you need to do. Eventually, the others will teleport back around you, so you will get yourself in that same situation where you're in danger of the floor particles hitting you. So just be aware of that, and obviously if you can, try and stay unlocked and, spin your head on a swivel and just keep a look around you to make sure you're not close to any others. Now, less likely to be targeted, this is the difference. Hopefully that helps you see the difference. Basically, if you've got less likely to be targeted on, 9 or 12, they pretty much ignore you throughout the whole fight. Now, as for the moveset of the first fight, the base version, not the Everdark version, pretty much everything they do can just be strafed by walking to the side. You don't need to do anything fancy, you can literally just strafe most of the attacks to the side. Apart from this one, you will need to move out of the way from this one, you can't even jump it. Now, the only other tips for this phase, and I've seen it catch quite a few people out, is this attack here. Essentially, when she holds her halberd sideways, you know she's going to start doing her spinning helicopter attack. Now, this one's really easy to avoid, but basically you want to roll to the side, roll in, and then roll to the side again. Only 3 rolls and you will avoid the whole attack. And the only other one really that I see catching people out a lot is the ground AoE that they do when they stick their halberd into the floor. Now, obviously you can just run away, you can sprint surge away, but if you don't have the stamina, an easy way to avoid it is by doing this. Because remember, they do 100% physical damage, so you are never going to take damage. You may get stance broke if you're low on stamina, but as you can see, I've just blocked it with a katana and it took just over half of my stamina bar. So if you're using like a shield or anything like that, you're going to take hardly any stamina. Now, that is the first phase. There's no other attacks really that should be catching you out. It's really simple to do. Okay, so your second phase has started. What you want to do is lock on to the center hot mummy. Then all you need to do realistically is small surge sprint away from the ground light. Now this part you will need to time, and then the very end move you can just block with any weapon because you won't take any damage because they do 100% physical. Now you will get stance broke, but you'll have plenty of time to get out of the way, so don't worry about that. Now it's pretty much the same in trios, but if you're far enough away from the one that's being targeted, you won't really have to avoid any of the ground stuff. It's just the very last attack. It's quite a big AoE, so if you are within the AoE, just hold block on any of your weapons and you will avoid taking any damage. Okay, so now we're in the second phase, and obviously the big hot mama, she has more attacks than the first phase does. Now each one of them are actually quite simple to dodge, but they become much more difficult if you don't have less likely to be targeted on. Because if you're within range of the other balancers, they will fire the ground bullets at you on the floor, and that will hit you, which means you'll get staggered and you'll end up getting hit by the combo. Now, as for how to roll this attack, essentially what I like to do is create some distance, roll to the side twice, and then roll inwards once, and then for the beams, you want to roll in twice, and then you can either roll to the side, or you can just strafe it. Now, as for the rest of the attacks in this fight, I'm not really going to go over because, honestly, most of them are self-explanatory, and I don't see many people getting caught out by, like, the grained AoEs and stuff like that. So we're going to move on to the Everdark Balancers fight. Now, we're not going to talk first phase because that's the same as the first fight, the base version against the Balancers, so we're going to jump straight into the second phase. As soon as the phase starts, run away. Make some distance between you and the very first Harmonia that's coming to fight you. Because what happens is, when you kill this one will be dead on the floor. By the time you've killed it, there will be another one running at you, and that means when that one wakes up, you've now got two that you're fighting constantly. What you want to do is you want to down a Harmonia, run away, down that one, run away, rinse and repeat. That way you're never fighting more than one, maybe two Harmonias at the same time, and that means you're not going to get ganked. Now, as for the fight itself, same as the first one, less likely to be targeted. That will prevent you from getting ganked if you end up finding yourself surrounded by them. You'll only get hit by maybe one or two of them at a time, so less likely to be targeted is a must. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about all of their moves because most of them are self-explanatory, just don't get hit, you know, strafe the spear and stuff like that. There is one where they do the 3 jumping attacks in a row. I see a lot of people getting caught out by the third jump, which is the one that the delayed jump. Essentially, now this is going to be a common theme throughout this whole fight. If you are not confident about rolling an attack, especially that one, because it is a bit of a crap attack to roll because they jump over the head here, and if your camera's not locked onto them at the right time, you are not going to see when or where they're jumping. The common theme is, if you can't see the attack, just hold block, and because they do 100% physical damage, you're not going to take any damage, and you're going to defend yourself against that attack. Now that's a common theme throughout this whole fight. If you are not confident about rolling an attack, if you can't see the attack because it's above you, hold block and you won't take any damage. Now, as you can see here, we got overwhelmed for a short second and someone died almost instantly. That's what I mean by take one down, run away, rinse and repeat. So you're never in a position where you're going to be able to get ganked. Now, it's the same principle with the big worm. If you can't see the attack, hold block and defend it. You won't take any damage. Now, there will be ground AoEs and the flowers that are blooming open that will cause blood loss, so just be careful of that. But any of the actual worms attacks itself, you can just defend against by holding block, and you won't take damage other than blood loss. Now, another attack that I see catching quite a few people out is the yellow beam that they do across the floor. Now, if you didn't know, this can just be jumped and it's quite easy to jump, but you can also just hold block and you won't take any damage that way either, because it is 100% physical damage. Now, gamers, I think we'll end it there because it's not supposed to be an in-depth guide. I think Chrass has already done one, and I guarantee that he covers most of the points I've already covered here. Chrass does really good videos on how to deal with bosses if you're struggling. Mine were more just tips that people may not be aware of, so let's conclude them tips. Tip number 1, less likely to be targeted is going to be your friend. All of your team members should have it, and that will prevent you from getting ganked if you get surrounded. Tip number 2, now I forgot to mention this one in the actual start of the video. Occasionally when you're being targeted, the boss will immediately switch aggro to another player. She'll teleport and then she'll do the dropping pink beam on them. This is the only time that I think you should do it. If you see this happening, you can spam ping to make them aware that something is about to come their way. Now, it's the only time you should ever spam ping, but it is something that's going to help your team members out if they're not aware they're about to be targeted. Tip number 3, obviously don't stay in the same spot as all the balancers are going down. Lead the balancers away from each other, and that way you'll have an easier time when they start waking back up and they won't be all in the same area and easily able to surround you. Tip number 4, pretty much all of their attacks are 100% physical damage, so you can block any attack with any weapon without taking damage. Obviously shields are going to be better because you're not going to get guard broken, but you can defend any of their attacks just by blocking whilst two-handing a weapon. Tip number 5, and this one is actually quite difficult to do, but if you're the one being targeted by the main Mama, you want to try and keep them away from the rest of the Harmonias. Now obviously that's also on your teammates. Your teammates need to try and keep the base Harmonias away from the red one. That way you won't be covered around by AoEs and getting hit by things that you're not even looking at. So try and keep the base Harmonia separate from the red main Harmonia. Tip number 6, and this one is both solos and trios, and it's really important, is most of the attacks that they do are actually telegraphed by a certain sound. So listen out for the sounds. Obviously, if you're playing in a really quiet area and you can't really hear anything, that's going to be difficult to do. But I always play with headphones and you can hear quite a lot. So listen out for the attacks because most of them are telegraphed by unique sounds. And final tip, this is one of those fights where your stamina is constantly depleted because you're running after them, you're trying to run to your teammates who are halfway across the boss arena. So if you can, try to manage your stamina and try not to let it get to 0, because as soon as your stamina gets to 0, you're going to get surrounded by the bosses, you're not going to be able to roll because you've got no stamina and you're just going to die. So obviously keep an eye on your stamina. So gamers, that's pretty much all I got to say. Obviously it's just some like generic tips, it's not an in-depth guide like Chrass would do, mostly because I know he's probably already done that. I haven't actually watched it yet, but I can imagine Chrass has already done that and covered every one of the actual moves that you need to know. So this was more just tips on how to make the fight a little bit more balanced and to stop it from being a gang fight, which is horrible to play in. As always, gamers, if you have some more tips that are going to help people get better at this fight, because I have seen so many people complaining about this fight. I think I've seen more people complaining about this fight than I have ED Gladius, which is obviously really bad because it's not that difficult a fight. Now, they do hit like a truck in depth 4 and depth 5, so if you've got no defenses and you're getting hit from behind and you're low on health, yeah, it's going to be a difficult fight. But for the most part, the fight itself is actually fairly easy to do. So as always, gamers, hopefully catch you on the next one. Stay safe, big love, peace.